Get ready to escape reality as we dive into the wildest prison breaks from around the world. From luxury lockups in Norway to notorious dungeons in the US, inmates will stop at nothing to break free. So buckle up and join us on a thrilling countdown of 15 jaw-dropping jailbreaks, starting with number 15. The Namast prison break in South Korea. Choi Gap Park thought he'd found enlightenment, but instead landed himself behind bars for robbery in 2012. Meet Choi Gap Park, a yogi with an escape plan. This South Korean inmate had been practicing yoga for 23 years, but never knew his flexibility would become the key to freedom. In just 5 days, he managed to slip through a minuscule food slot in his cellar door, only about 6 inches tall and 17 inches wide. Can you believe it took him a mind-blowing 34 seconds to make his great escape? Talk about swift justice. Choi's daring escape made headlines, earning him the nickname Korean Houdini. Journalists were wowed by his yoga-fueled freedom stunt, but unfortunately for Choi, his second act was a bit of a flop. He got caught 6 days later, and back to prison he went. This time around, they apparently didn't take any chances, giving him a much tinier food slot to work with. We can't help but wonder, will a yogi out there create an escape artist move in his honor? Maybe it'll be called the Prison Break 514, or even some like it hotter, who knows? Meet Ronald Silva, a Brazilian prisoner with a mind for the unconventional. When he landed in the slammer, Silva didn't take it lying down, or should we say, sitting in his cell. He hatched an escape plan that was as clever as it was low-key. With some help from his wife, who visited him weekly, Silva got his hands on some unexpected supplies. But what could she possibly bring to aid their daring breakout? Let's just say, you won't believe the gifts that helped Silva take a step closer to freedom. Get ready for the ultimate undercover operation. Ronald Silva's daring escape plan revolved around transforming into his wife. Literally, with a stash of ladies' clothes, he carefully crafted an entire female disguise. He shaved, added some fake nails, slipped on a wig, and finished off the look with high heels, lipstick, and confidence. The result, a prison breakout so seamless, Silva strolled past guards like they didn't even exist, all while rocking that daring lady look. Silva's mastermind escape seemed perfect, until it wasn't. His high heels and wig fooled everyone at first, but one observant guard noticed something off about this lady. As they followed Silva to a bus stop, a giveaway walk in high heels revealed his true identity. It's amazing how a less than natural stride can blow cover. Now, let's switch gears. You might have heard whispers of the infamous El Chapo, but what do you really know about this notorious figure? Meet El Chapo, the Mexican mastermind who pulled off not one, but 2 jaw-dropping prison escapes. First, he used bribery to get guards on his side and was rolled out in a laundry cart full of dirty clothes. Talk about a load of trouble. After recapture in 2014, El Chapo planned an even more daring heist. His cell was under tight surveillance, but there was one tiny blind spot by his shower. The perfect spot to dig up a secret tunnel that would change everything. This underground passageway stretched an incredible 33 feet deep, complete with lights, air ducts, and even a motorcycle waiting for him at the exit. Who knew dirty laundry could hide so much drama? You won't believe the next part of El Chapo's escape story. The tunnel wasn't a claustrophobic crawl space, but a passable path that led him all the way to a construction site just outside. Talk about a quick getaway. While it's unlikely he dug the entire thing himself, one thing's for sure, he certainly took that motorcycle for a wild ride down into the underground tunnel. But enough about El Chapo, let's dive into another infamous escape story, this time from the Roaring '30s. Enter John Dillinger, America's most notorious bank robber, who thought his crime spree was over when he got locked up in 1933. Little did anyone know, his next caper was just around the corner. John Dillinger's crime spree wasn't quite over yet. he found himself some shady friends inside prison who were trafficking guns behind bars. It didn't take him long to get itchy to break out, just 4 days to be exact. But here's the kicker. These guys had already been cooking up a plan before Dillinger even arrived on the scene. When his buddies made their first escape without him, they weren't about to leave him hanging. They snuck back in, dressed up as corrections officers no less, and walked right into the prison like they owned it. Talk about an inside job. But Dillinger's friend's master plan paid off. They strolled back into the prison with him, all dressed up as corrections officers. And guess what? They made it out just as smoothly. However, his luck eventually ran out when he was recaptured a year later and sent to Crown Point Jail, notorious for being virtually escape-proof. But Dillinger, proving himself to be one step ahead, crafted a wooden fake gun and used it as leverage to take 17 hostages. Talk about a clever move. This guy just wouldn't quit trying to break free. Imagine being locked up in Alcatraz, one of the world's most notorious prisons, and deciding to take drastic measures. That's exactly what Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin did. They turned their desperation into determination and hatched an escape plan, so bold it would become the stuff of legends. With nothing but a trusty spoon and some incredible creativity, they set out to turn their lives around on June 11th, 1962. Little did anyone know what was about to go down. Here's where it gets crazy. Morris and the Anglin brothers went all in on their escape plan. They spent months digging a tunnel through solid concrete, keeping it totally under wraps. Talk about patience. Meanwhile, each night, these guys were busy juggling life as usual while pulling off an epic deception. They crafted look-alike dummy heads out of paper match and swapped them with their own in the prison beds. The guards had no idea what was happening. But that wasn't all. The trio also amassed a whopping 50 stolen raincoats, which they'd use to make a makeshift raft because getting off Alcatraz wouldn't be easy. It's about to get real as they face the freezing waters surrounding the island. The million-dollar question remains, what happened to Morris and his accomplices? Unfortunately, the truth about their fate is still shrouded in mystery. They vanished into thin air. But let's move on to another mind-blowing prison break. In Texas, a group of 7 notorious inmates, all with serious time on their hands, hatched an ambitious escape plan, taking extreme measures because they knew it wouldn't be easy to shake off the law. This was no covered operation. We're talking full-blown, over-the-top, and seriously clever. Meet the infamous Texas 7. But here's where things take a dramatic turn. The Texas 7 didn't just make a break for it, they orchestrated a daring heist that would give even the most seasoned action movie stars a run for their money. In a shocking move, these 7 inmates took 16 people hostage. Yes, you heard that right, 16. It was an audacious plan. By holding everyone at gunpoint, they managed to get their hands on some pretty valuable loot. They swiped the credit cards, IDs, and clothing of unsuspecting prison staff members, giving them a sweet makeover. But here's the kicker. While 4 of the 7 stayed behind to create a diversion, the remaining 3 put their elaborate plan into action. They overpowered a guard tower, snagged some serious firepower, and commandeered a prison truck. Tragically, this wild escape came at a terrible cost, taking the life of a police officer. However, as the old saying goes, what comes around goes around. After being broadcast on America's Most Wanted, one brave woman identified them, and it wasn't long before SWAT teams caught up with 5 out of 7 inmates, sealing their fate. All 5 were sentenced to death row. Get ready for one of the most jaw-dropping stories you'll ever hear. It's straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster. Meet Frank Abagnale, a master con artist whose life was so outrageous that it even inspired a hit movie, Catch Me If You Can, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. But this isn't your average tale. It's a wild ride of deception and escape, with Abagnale as the charismatic lead. He started his career in crime at just 15 years old and went on to serve time behind bars. But one stunt still takes the cake. In 1971, while being transported by a US Marshal, something crazy happened. The Marshal simply forgot to hand over Frank's detention papers. It was a mind-boggling blunder that would set off a chain of events that would leave law enforcement baffled and a Bagnall on the loose. Fasten your seatbelts for this incredible true tale. Frank Bagnall pulled off the ultimate heist, an escape that was almost too easy. When a US Marshal's mistake left him without papers, Frank saw an opportunity and ran with it. He convinced prison guards he was an FB inspector on an inspection visit, and even got his buddy to forge a document to back up his wild story. And guess what? The plan worked like a charm. The prison let him go, none the wiser. Bagnall's smooth moves might have earned him a release, but they couldn't keep him out of hot water for long. He ended up serving time again just 4 years later. This guy was either extremely lucky or born to be in the spotlight, and his story is proof that truth really can be stranger than fiction. Get ready for the wildest true crime story, The French Connection. Meet Pascal Payet, a notorious crook with a talent for daring escapes, all linked by one thing: helicopters. His first jaw-dropping breakout happened on October 21, 2001, when his accomplices hijacked a chopper and landed it right on the prison roof. But Payet didn't stop there. 2 years later, he orchestrated an even bolder escape to free 3 of his buddies from the same lockup. He thought he'd gotten away with it all, but in 2005, authorities finally caught up with him, slapping a 30-year sentence on the cunning fugitive. You wouldn't think Payet would risk another helicopter escape. But guess what? That's exactly what happened. His accomplice swooped back in to break him out once and for all. Step into the world of life behind bars, where time ticks by at a different pace. While some inmates find solace in books or spirituality, others like Andrew Roger, Keith Rose, and Matthew Williams get creative literally. These 3 Oak prisoners spent their days in the metal shop, surrounded by tools that could be turned against their captors. And they had an idea: memorize every curve and notch of those prison keys. It was a meticulous plan, born out of the monotony of life inside. But would it unlock their freedom? But here's where things get really clever. As our OK trio Andrew, Keith, and Matthew worked their magic in the metal shop, they carefully crafted a master key using a key-cutting machine, no small feat for an inmate with Andrew's welding background. And what was this master key capable of? Opening nearly every door in the prison. Their ingenious escape plan came to life in 1995, but unfortunately, it didn't quite end as they'd hoped. Caught just 5 days later, 3 miles away from their former home, these skilled prisoners showed us that with time and determination, even the most unlikely escape artists can emerge. Now let's cross the Atlantic and see what 2 clever inmates on the other side of the globe had up their sleeves. Fast forward to the Clinton Correctional Facility in New York, where an unlikely duo, David Sweat and Richard Matt, hatched a plan that would put their resourcefulness to the test. They formed an unexpected friendship with the prison tailor, who proved to be more than just a skilled seamster. During a visit, he managed to smuggle in some hamburger meat containing a hidden surprise, a hacksaw blade. With this unexpected tool, Sweat and Matt began crafting a tunnel through pipes within the facility's inner workings, creating an elaborate maze-like escape route. And just like that, they emerged from a manhole on the outside in Denmark, New York, leaving behind a parting gift for the guards. A cheeky note reading, "Have a nice day. Get ready for a nutty escape plan." In 2017, 12 inmates at the Walker County Jail in Alabama pulled off an unforgettable heist. And it's all thanks to peanut butter love. Here's how it went down. The clever crooks slathered a generous amount of creamy peanut butter on a sign that led directly outside. Then, they strategically asked one of their guards to open the door for them, hoping the sticky situation would go unnoticed until it was too late. And, well, you can guess what happened next. The plot thickens. So here's what went down. There was no exit sign above the door, and the guards fell for the sticky trap hook, line, and sinker. The sneaky inmates used this opportunity to make their move. But that wasn't even the most creative part. They first climbed up a fence using blankets as makeshift rope by tossing them over razor wire. And these weren't your average blankets, folks. They were nice and thick, allowing them to cross over with ease. The best part, all it took was something you'd usually find in your pantry: peanut butter. However, their escape didn't quite go according to plan. They got caught, proving that even the most clever of plans can sometimes backfire. But their taste of freedom was short-lived. 11 out of the 12 escapees were recaptured within just 12 hours. Meanwhile, the last one wasn't found until a few days later, all the way in Florida. So what did these guys prove? Well, it's clear that crime doesn't always pay, but peanut butter is definitely a game changer for snacking, or you can put it on almost anything. Now, let's move on to our next escape story, and it gets even crazier. In 1986, Michael Varger cooked up a plan to bust out of jail with the help of his wife. And what was the key to their scheme? Fresh fruits. But that's not all. They also had another trick up their sleeve: a helicopter. Yes, you heard it right. They used a chopper to make their daring escape. It looks like air travel is the preferred getaway method for some daring escape artists. So, how did Michael Varger and his partner in crime manage this aerial escapade? Well, Mrs. Varger took matters into her own hands. Literally, she got her pilot's license to fly the chopper they'd soon need. Meanwhile, Michael was busy getting creative with some nectarines. He painted them to look like grenades and then used them as a makeshift battering ram to force his way up to the prison roof, where his wife was waiting. They made their escape, landing safely on a nearby football field before making a run for it. But their freedom didn't last long. Imagine if Michael Varger's artistic talents had been appreciated behind bars instead of being used for a daring prison break. But let's switch gears. We've got another high-profile escape artist to talk about, and that's Defied. This notorious French convict was sentenced to 25 years in the slammer after a robbery turned fatal, taking the life of a policewoman. Now, you might think he had it coming, but Fade didn't see things that way. So in April 2013, he made his move and blew open not one, not two, but 5 prison doors with explosives before making a clean getaway. But here's the twist. Defied didn't exactly go down without a fight or using others as leverage. He took some hostages to guarantee his safe escape, and then he disappeared into thin air until being caught weeks later in northern France. But this guy was on a roll. In 2018, Fade managed to pull off an even crazier stunt with the help of his outside accomplice. They hijacked a helicopter. Can you believe it? They forced the pilot to land right in the prison courtyard, and just like that, Fade made his second escape. Talk about living life on the edge. But wait, Fade wasn't done yet. After making a grand helicopter entrance in the prison courtyard, he and his accomplices didn't waste any time. They hot-wired another ride, drove to a shopping mall, torched it for good measure, and switched to an even slicker getaway car. Sounds like a Hollywood movie, right? Unfortunately for Fade, though, this Houdini act wouldn't stick. He was caught 3 months later with his accomplices, bringing his wild escape spree to an end. And that's how we bid adios to our number 2 escape artist. Meet Yoshi Shiratori, all Japan's very own Houdini. This guy was like a ninja in a straitjacket, sent to prison for robbery and murder in 1939, but 3 years later, he used a clever wire trick on some handcuffs made from a bucket's metal handle and slipped right out. 3 days free wasn't enough though. Shiratori was caught again and sent to an even tougher lockup. But this escape artist didn't give up. Every night, Under the cover of darkness, he'd climb his cell walls, loosening an air vent that would eventually become his ticket to freedom. However, our hero's next stunt took some serious stomach acid. He'd spit miso soup onto his cell door frame every morning, and over time, the salt and moisture ate away at it just enough for him to wriggle out during a wartime blackout, dislocating his shoulder in the process. But Shiratori's most daring escape yet was waiting in the wings. This time, he got a death sentence, and they put him under 24/7 watch with 6 guards tailing him every step of the way. Talk about overconfidence. They built him a super secure cell just for this occasion, and guess what? No handcuffs needed, right? Wrong. Shiratori saw an opportunity and dug his way out by removing bolts from the floorboards using nothing but his trusty bowl. Free at last, our ninja in a straitjacket spent many years on the lam before deciding to turn himself in. And guess what? By then, he'd earned himself a 20-year sentence. But after serving time and getting parole in '61, this man was finally free to live life on his own terms. But Shiratori's incredible journey finally came full circle when he passed away from a heart attack in '79. Yet, his legendary escape stories live on, so much that one prison even built a monument in his honor. And now, buckle up, folks, because we're about to dive into an insane and jaw-dropping, real-life prison break story that'll leave you speechless. It's from the St. Jerome Detention Center in Quebec, Canada, a place you definitely don't want to end up. Get ready for some serious wow moments as we get to the Chapo. This one's going to be wild. Fast forward to March 2013, a day that would go from ordinary to utterly absurd at the St. Jerome Detention Center in Canada. 2 inmates, Danny Provencal and Benjamin Houdon Barbeau, had had enough of their life behind bars and were ready to roll the dice on freedom. And guess what? Their entire escape attempt was caught on camera. Talk about a plot twist. As day turned into night at the facility, chaos erupted when a helicopter suddenly touched down on one of its rooftops. A rope dangled down, and our 2 would-be fugitives began their daring 2-story climb to freedom. But did someone really shout "Get to the Chapo" during this wild scene? We might never know for sure. But here's where things get even more interesting. Or should I say, more hilarious. These would-be escape artists somehow managed to turn a high-stakes heist into a comical struggle. After a few botched attempts, they were seen dangling from the rope as the helicopter took off, looking more like clumsy acrobats